I'm going to talk about Midjourney for a while. This video is probably more for the writers and the artists and the creative types, but you all might enjoy it. Just to give a little context in case anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, Midjourney is an AI art generation program which uses generative AI to generate images based on instructions that you give it. Those instructions are called prompts. I've been using Midjourney since early last year, and so far I've generated 7,417 images. So I've used it a lot. That might be a problem. I'm very addicted to it, and it's one of those things that once I start, I have a very difficult time stopping because it's so much fun. It's crazy fun just to see what I can do with it and what I can come up with. So join me while I take you through a little side of my brain called the Midjourney addiction. I wanted to get just a couple of images for a video I'm working on. I'm doing a book review of Everything is Fuck by Mark Manson. And just in the background of that, I wanted to have some pictures of a world in decay. So I hop onto Midjourney and I enter my prompt, world in decay. And comes up with some overgrown cities, a wrecked ship. And it's looking all right, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for. So I do another prompt, get a little more specific, and I go for a photograph of urban decay, trash, dilapidated buildings, and graffiti. I'm like, okay, that looks a lot better. These are great. They look like photos of real places. You could take a glance at these and totally believe that I went somewhere and I just took a picture. And that's kind of the idea. That's what I'm looking for, is something that will be a good standard. So, I blow up a couple of these, blow some good results. The bigger versions are looking great. And this really looks like a place you wouldn't want to live. I tried to go for something with a little bit bigger scale next. Here we have an aerial photograph of a ruined modern city, crumbling, decay, burning, columns of smoke, feeling of hopelessness and ruin. Comes up with these, and they look pretty good. For the video idea I had, this isn't exactly what I'm looking for, but I like the way these look. So I decided to play with them a little bit. And I thought, a car would be good. Like a car in an alleyway or a car in the street. So next I did the same thing. I just added burnt out car to the description. And it came up with these. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually getting rid of some of the things that I've already processed, so that later on when I go to grab these pictures, I don't have a bunch of ones that were intermediate steps showing up. I can go directly to the end results. And that's kind of a more how-to Midjourney kind of video, which isn't exactly what we're going for here. You can see there's kind of some jankiness on the window where it almost looks the same color as the paint. There are little details here and there you can see where this is obviously AI created, and the results aren't necessarily that great. But I liked where these were going, so I did some variations just to kind of see what it would do. I did some zoom outs so I could see, in a larger scene, how did that smaller area fit into it, and did I like what was around it. Did the same thing with some of the burning city ones and the car ones. And here you can see where it zooms out and it starts to throw in some other details, like this one. Because the burnt out car was still in the prompt, when it zooms out it starts to repeat, adding another burnt out car, which wasn't really what I wanted. But this is where the addictiveness comes in, because in that first set of pictures, just a trashy messed up building with some graffiti, that's what I was looking for my video. I could have stopped there. In 5 minutes I had the artwork I needed to put in the background of my video. I didn't need to go further. I didn't need to go down any of these rabbit holes, but I literally couldn't help myself. I'm so fascinated by what is the next scene? What if I add this element? What if I change this? What if I zoom in? So, of course, the next element I add are stray animals. So I put that in the prompt and had it regenerate them. And it came up with a random set of animals. We had a coyote, we had a deer, we had dogs, we had cats. And I thought they were really, kind of cute. And then that just engages my mind in a whole different direction. So I'm looking at these animals going, wow, I could really tell a story around that, focusing in on this animal and its plight. So then I started doing some variations on the animals to see, what animals look good? What's it going to throw out here? And came up with some interesting examples. So Here we have a variation on a number of cats. And both the orange cats and the kittens I thought were really good. And then some of these, when you take a closer look at them, you do see some AI jankiness that doesn't really fit. So for example, in this picture of the dog, when I actually generated the larger version of that, got a nice background. This just looks like an abandoned part of a city or ruins after, humanity is gone. But this dog is clean and well groomed, and for some reason, he's sticking out his tongue. I don't know what's up with that, but that was definitely one that I didn't really want. And I thought the deer was interesting, so I did some variations of the deer. Now some of these, the lighting doesn't really match the background, so again, you start to get some AI jankiness and it doesn't look good. I did a variation where I thought, I'll enter Denver in the prompt and see if it does anything that actually catches any local flavor. It didn't really, but it did have an interesting effect on the background. And I think when I was recording this, I found this picture and I noticed that I had not actually gone farther on this particular thread. So I'm telling it to upscale number 2 and number 3, which I like, but that was just to generate larger versions of those pictures and see what it would come up with. I also added a little more chaos to the prompt to see if it would give me a wider variation on this Denver theme. And then we had some other variations with the dogs. And here I specifically said dirty, sick, mangy dog, and none of these dogs really fit the bill, but I thought that little guy down in the bottom corner was kind of cute, so I went ahead and followed that thread. And at this point, I'm completely off track from my original reason for opening Midjourney, my original reason for starting to do prompts. So I'm looking at variations of this orange cat and trying to get the right photo of this so that he really looks like a stray cat. And I thought the black cat was very interesting. So I'm starting to zoom out, see what's around them, see what the AI throws out there. We have this lonely little kitten, also very cute. We had these two fellows, which looked good. And this little kitten that's kind of going exploring down the alley. With all these, I kept blowing these out. So expanding a little bit further out and a little bit further out, because when you have a series of these, you can actually sort of animate it so that you have a zoom in where you can't really see what the focus of the picture is, but then you slowly zoom in from this wider scene down to the very specific subject. Or you can do it in reverse and do this kind of zoom out. But I'll often do the zoom out with the tool and then actually animate it to do a zoom in on the subject. Then we had some variations on the deer, which, I think at the time I thought the deer was interesting because that gives you a nice after humanity kind of feel. But I don't know that I really liked the way any of the deer came out when I came back and looked at them again. There's just a little more room for jankiness with the deer pictures. The lighting's a little off, pictures are a little muddy, but some of the cat ones I thought were really interesting, so I kept kind of peeling those back, zooming out further and further. At this point, I've probably been prompting in Midjourney for an hour. And this screen cap doesn't show all the pictures because I'd already done a lot of cleaning up as I went. So when I upscaled or did a zoom, I would often delete the original that I'd started with. And here we start to see a repetition again, where we started with an orange cat, and then we start seeing other cats in the foreground because the cat reference is still in the prompt. So, pro tip, when you're doing these zooms, take out the description of your subject, or else you'll start to get repeats. It'll get kind of glitchy. Anyway, let me know if you think the Midjourney discussions are interesting, because I can go down this rabbit hole anytime and explain the thought process, what I'm trying to create, why I'm picking some pictures over other pictures, and I can also give prompting tips if that's helpful. But for me, this is, of the AI tools that I use, I think Midjourney is the one I have the most fun with, and it's also the one that I find the most difficult to put down. Once I get going, even if I'm going down something that's really silly or really abstract, or I'm just iterating on very small variations of a single picture or a single prompt, I have a hard time turning it off. I'm totally addicted to it.